All right, peace be upon you, ladies and gentlemen. How are you? Now, in today's video, I just want to, because I've been diving into the Dharmic religions quite deeply over the past few weeks, few months, I've read through some of their principal texts, the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, the Dhammapada. I've just been looking into their philosophy. Now I have a general idea of the thinking and mentality within these religions, and I wanted to offer some of my reflections, some of my thoughts, which I think may be of value to you. So, this is a very important study, and I'm so glad and honored that I could be embarking upon it now because these are the two major religious traditions in the world, as far as I know of. The Abrahamic traditions, and yeah, we can go on and say Abraham was not a Christian, he was not a Jew. I understand that from the Quran, of course. But at least these religions that claim to believe in the God of Abraham, claim to believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you have the Abrahamic traditions, and then you have the Dharmic traditions in the East. And putting atheism and secularism aside, which is another big religion, which they would not want to be called that, but they are a religion. But I'm saying the two spiritual paths that have a spiritual way that's not just deadening your spirit and materialism, which is what all atheism and secularism is. Amongst the two spiritual paths, the major groups are the Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and the Dharmic faiths, which are Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism, Sikhi. And I challenge you, find me a country, and yeah, you'll find weird religions here and there, cults that were invented in the 1800s and 1900s, of course, but I'm talking about ancient religions that go back farther than we can even recollect with our memory. Find me any country in the world that does not openly subscribe to either a Dharmic faith or a Abrahamic faith. You will not be able to. These are the two major spiritual paths. And now that I've been diving into the Dharmic faiths, I want to give you some of my reflections and thoughts and some of my issues with them. So, and this is not coming from a place of foolishness and just watching a debunk article, oh, Buddhism debunked, like the way these Christians love to do, because they don't accept Jesus as Lord, they're going to hell, amen? Like, it's nothing like that, right? This is a really thoughtful analysis, and I have gone deep into their religions and tried to even put myself into their mindset. So, and quickly, I want to say regarding Buddhism and regarding the Eastern religions in general, I think Hinduism is the mother of all of these religions. And specifically speaking on Buddhism and Hinduism, they're the most well known. But Buddhism, I see it as just another school of Hinduism. So, if you okay, it would be to kind of explain what happened with Buddha. I'll give you an example with me. So I'm a teacher of the Quran, obviously. I stand upon the Quran. Um, Imagine if, God forbid, people started worshiping me and they started seeing me as a teacher. I have a bunch of writings, right? Let's say people start to canonize those writings and make them into a scripture, going against what I said. But, and then over time, as time goes on, people started to identify with me and develop this separate tradition and commentaries on Walid's work and Walid's wisdom and Walid's philosophy. And they started to disassociate themselves from the Quran. But I myself always stood upon the Quranic philosophy. Just over time, it kind of became its own tradition. That is exactly what happened with Buddhism. Buddha was a teacher of Vedic philosophy. He believed in the Vedas. He believed in all the gods, all the deities, at least the Buddhist texts. Never does Buddha say that he's starting his own tradition. No, he was a Vedic teacher, but slightly different emphasis, according to his thoughts, on the Vedas, on different things, and people started to canonize his wise teachings and develop their separate traditions, which became more successful in the East. So Cambodia, Myanmar, Laos, China, Japan, Korea, all those places. But he was a teacher of Vedic philosophy. All of these religions have their root in Vedic philosophy. And I guess that's kind of to give you the context. So it would be like Christianity, Judaism, Hadithanism, all this. It has a root in the philosophy that there's one God, one creator of the heavens and the earth, but they have different understandings, different interpretations. So that's kind of to give you a little bit of context. So, what's my first issue with all of these faiths, the Dharmic faiths? And I hope that you can use all of these arguments in your discussions with people and you can arm yourself so you can be knowledgeable on the different faiths around the world. And at least for me, a goal for me is I want to be a scholar of world religions. I want to be learned and knowledgeable and be able to counsel people to the truth from a place of wisdom and understanding and not ignorance, to kind of build bridges between me and other people. But, anyways, getting into the my first main issue is this idea of samsara, and all of them have this: Jains, Buddhists, Sikhs, and Hindus. This idea of cycling of death and rebirth, death and rebirth, death and rebirth. Okay, let me pull up an image here. Why did I make a new tab? Here, samsara. So here. So samsara is this idea that depending on our karma, either good or bad, and all of them have this, the good deeds that we accrue or the bad deeds that we accrue, we will either be reborn in a favorable state in the world or in an abject state in the world. So if I do good, then I will be, at least in the Buddhist tradition, Hindu as well, I can be, God forbid, reborn amongst the gods in the higher realms, the heavenly celestial realms. If I do evil, then I'm going to go to hell. And hell for them is not eternal. Hell for them is a correctional facility. It's a way for me to purge and pay for all of my bad karma, and then I come back and try again. And this is a very different, stark contrast to the Abrahamic faiths and specifically the Quran. The Quran tells us that once you go to hell, it ain't no correctional facility. You are there for eternity. That's how it is. So, and regarding that, my main issue with this concept of samsara, the eternal cycle of death and rebirth, is I've talked about this in a previous video, but it doesn't give us the best reason to live a righteous life. It just doesn't. So, if I'm talking to a Hindu, Buddhist, Sikh, Jain, I will ask them, do you think our Creator would give us the best reason to live righteously? Whatever his religion is, his faith that he wants us to follow is, that it would give us the best reason to be pure. And they will say, yeah, of course, anybody would say that. He would give us the best motivation to live a godly life. And what do you think gives somebody a better motivation to do good? The idea that they have infinite chances, or the idea that they have one chance to get things right? And the analogy I would like to give you is, let's say we were in a basketball court and I offered you two game programs. The first program says, hey, let's say your name is Jack. Jack, if you nail this shot, this free throw, let me pull up a free throw. Okay, we're in the basketball court right now. You're doing the free throw. And Jack, if you nail this free throw, I will give you $1 million. Let's say $1 billion. And if you don't, I'm going to cut your head off right now. But now, let's say this. This is the Buddhist kind of philosophy, Hindu, Jain, the Dharmic philosophy. I will give you infinite chances, though. Yeah, you may miss, you may not get the score, but whenever you do eventually sink that three-point shot or that free throw shot, I will give you your $1 million. Versus the Abrahamic plan, listen, Jack, you only got one shot. You either nail this free throw and I give you $1 million, or you don't and I cut your head off. Which scenario do you think would give Jack right here more prudence and make him be more careful in choosing his shot? Infinite chances or one chance? Of course, the one chance. My wife even just said one chance. So that's my main issue. The excuse me, the Abrahamic traditions, the eternal hellfire doctrine, it gives us the best reason to remain righteous. And for that reason, I can consider it more to be the doctrine of God. The next point or reflection I have is they all pray. Every single one of them have prayer. The Dharmic religions and the Abrahamic religions, they all have this concept of prayer. And I don't buy this for a second when Buddhists say they don't believe in God, they don't believe in a higher power. Yeah, you do. You guys believe in bodhisattvas, higher beings you pray to. You pray to the Buddha himself. You call him the mighty one, the pure one, the ascended one. You capitalize his name. You see him in this divine essence. Let me pull this up. Buddhist praying to Buddha. Or whatever, they have various beings. So you see he's offering offerings before the statue. They all pray, okay? I'm not going to buy this for a second. You guys believe in gods, no doubt about it. Now, with that being said, well, the way I like to think of things is the practices that are most common across, let's say there was an original tradition, an original philosophy that God revealed to mankind. Could be Dharmic, could be Abrahamic. Whatever philosophy is most represented in mankind, I should say, the the ideas that are internationally represented around the world are more likely to be that original philosophy revealed by God to mankind, whereas the things that are only in certain localities are likely invented innovations by people. So, um, prayer is ubiquitous. Dharmic or Abrahamic, we all have this concept of prayer, but meditation is purely a preserve of the Dharmic religions. We don't have any concept of meditation, at least in the Buddhist, Jain, Hindu sense, in the Quran, in the Bible. It doesn't exist. But prayer exists ubiquitously, praying to God or gods. So this seems to suggest that prayer is the original spiritual practice, whereas meditation is the innovation. And let me go to like that along that same vein, in that same point, we can also say that every religion has a concept of hell. All of them. Buddhists have a very elaborate idea of hell. Hindus have a very elaborate idea of hell. They all understand these things. I think even Jains have a concept of hell too. But they see it as a correctional facility that you pay for your bad karma and you come back here. But my point is, hell and punishment for evil deeds. Let me actually pull the images up. Buddhist hell. It's called Naraka, or I think Naraka in their tradition. Now look at this. This is very almost Quranic symbolism right here. Yeah, and you can even see, yeah, you have Naraka here. You have in the Hindu tradition Narg. You have in the Jain tradition Jain hell. Right, a place where you go get tortured. Hindu hell. So this concept of torture for your evil deeds is all around the world. But this Dharmic concept of moksha. Moksha in the Hindu tradition, in Jainism, I think it's called moksha as well. In the Buddhist tradition, it's called nirvana or nibbana in Pali. This concept is essentially you want to escape the cycle of death and rebirth. Let me pull back up Samsara for a second. The whole goal of these religions is to escape the cycle of death and rebirth. So if I do good karma, I get reborn back as a god. But then once my good karma is exhausted, I come back into the world. If I do evil, I go to this hellish realm. My bad karma is exhausted, I come back. You keep cycling, but the whole point is to have no karma, to be karma free, and to escape the cycle and to completely dissolve yourself into the universe. And the best example I can give of this is I don't know if you guys have ever watched the movie Kung Fu Panda. I'm not going to play the audio because I'm going to get copyrighted for it, but and it's a very emotional scene here. Oogway ascends. So, and Kung Fu Panda is built almost entirely upon Buddhist Eastern Dharmic philosophy. So check this out. So you notice Master Oogway, he's kind of this, even the way he speaks, he has this kind of non-dualist, non-attachment type of philosophy. And you notice at the end of his life, he doesn't die. He ascends. So he tells his disciple, I must go. You must continue your journey without me. Hands him his staff. He walks over. Master, please don't leave me. You must always believe. And you notice he doesn't die. He ascends. He dissolves into the universe. This is the concept of moksha or nirvana, to free yourself. Now he's free from the cycle of death and rebirth. He has ascended duality, ascended the material world. So, going back to my original point, the concepts that are most ubiquitous in mankind are likely part of that original faith that God has revealed. And we all have a concept of hell and heaven, so to speak, hell and paradise, but moksha, liberation, nirvana is only a preserve of these far eastern religions, so they are likely the innovations that were made up. And I'll go into the issues with this whole concept of liberation in general very shortly. But let me continue going down my notes. Another thing, right? So, and this is in the central text. It's in the Upanishads. It's in the Bhagavad Gita. It's in the Dhammapada. The kind of model, the standard of a man in these Dharmic traditions is the monk. He is seen as the highest, the most purest value in mankind. This is very different to the Quran and the Bible. The Quran and the Bible do not have this monkish philosophy. So let me pull it up. Really, a mendicant. And for those who do not know what that word means, a mendicant is somebody who lives purely off of alms from society. He has renounced family, private property, possessions, responsibilities, and he's going out in the wilderness to seek his nirvana, to liberate himself, to have no karma at all, and to liberate himself from the world. This is how they are, and this is seen as the highest. And even in so traditionally Dharmic religions, they were kind of the we can put aside the caste system and everything like that in the Hindu religion, but there was kind of two orders to society, two matrices. There was the common man who had a family, he had children, he had a wife, and then there was the monk man who, the family man, he has a job and a business or whatever, and the monk man, he doesn't have, or the nun, he or she doesn't have any of that. They just go live out in the wilderness, they pray, they fast, they do these kinds of things. And traditionally the family man, let's just pull out here, Hindu family, these people with wife and kids and a job, they would work and provide, and it was seen as a great honor to give charity to these holy men. They're called holy men. To give charity to these men to continue their life. And I have a big problem with this monkish model. There's a big issue with it. The monk, and this is in the Dhammapada, they embrace this as a man who follows this path. He is very, very close to nirvana, to moksha. My issue with this is that the monk is a useless man. Let's be honest, he's a useless man. He lives off of alms and he runs away from all responsibility in life. It's very easy to do that, okay? It's very easy for me to just say peace out to my wife, peace out to my family, peace out to all my friends in my community, and just go out in the wilderness and live off of freebies. You look at these people, look, this guy's carrying his bowl around him. Same thing with Jain monks. And Jain monks are particularly disturbing because some of them are completely nude. They want total non-attachment from the world, even some of them to the point where they won't even wear clothes. So check this out, right? They'll go around with their bowls and they'll ask people for freebies and handouts, and let's be honest, that's pathetic. That's not a godly way to live. And isn't it interesting that this style of living, them trying to liberate themselves from the cycle of death and rebirth, there's a fundamental contradiction within it, because in order for them to live this life of non-attachment, it requires other people to be attached to the world and for them to live off of their labor. Listen, mankind needs food, mankind needs water, mankind needs shelter, mankind needs clothing. These people do not want to get a job. They don't want to get a business. They don't want to participate in the nation's market economy. But other people have to for them to continue funding this. And I'm not using this insultingly, really a derelict way of life. A derelict is somebody who's homeless, who goes from town to town, does nothing. They are funding this way of life. And it's actually quite selfish. I'm going to achieve my liberation in moksha, my peace, nirvana, at your expense. You have to suffer in this world and have attachments to live, to fund my free life. This is public welfare. And why would we acknowledge this as the highest point in our society? Not at all. And he's actually really a leech on society. The layman, so you look at this person, the Hindu family, the Jain family, this person is actually better than the monk, although they look up to the monks. Let me pull up a Hindu monk just to keep in line with the theme, right? You know, they don't even shave, they don't comb their hair. A lot of times they don't shower. This person is actually better because he's expected to practice all of those monkish virtues: piety, good faith, generosity, kindness, sexual purity, loyalty, all these things, while dealing with the problems in the real world. He has to provide for a family. He has to take care of his wife. He has to deal with all of those problems while still keeping those monkish virtues. He works for his money and gives in generosity. Whereas this man here, it's very easy to give in charity. This is what they do. They go, they like pray for 5 hours a day. Then they go outside, they kind of feed the birds a little bit. Then they meditate. Then they maybe go on these like nature walks or whatever. It's very easy to go and give charity if all your money is given to you for free. So this is a fundamental contradiction in the monkish model. It requires these people need these people to remain attached for their own bliss. It's a very selfish way of living. And the charity of this man right here is more valuable because he had to work for it. There's sweat equity behind the money that he's giving, whereas there's none for these people. To continue down with my notes, it's actually quite cowardly, honestly, for somebody to run away from all responsibility in life and go live out in the wilderness. And I'm gonna pull up there's this channel I've been watching, How to Meditate Buddhist. This guy, it seems like a very kind guy, whatnot. This I think he's a Sri Lankan Buddhist, and just look at this man. He's a perfect. Charity is for people who need it. Okay, somebody injured their leg in an accident, an old woman, somebody who's sick. Right, that's who it's for. Or somebody who's down bad, they lost their job and whatnot, but they're trying to pull themselves back up. But charity, you are not to try to live off of charity for the rest of your life. You are trying to pull yourself out of that and contribute to your society, bring value to your society. There's no reason for military aged, perfectly healthy and capable young men such as this man right here to be living off of alms. I'm sorry, you can't be living off of public welfare like that. So that's a major problem I have with these Dharmic traditions. And continuing on with that point, they're all about ascending the suffering in the life of this world, getting out of the suffering in the life of this world. And, they're so holy and pious. Even God talks about monasticism, they invented it. But they think they're so holy and pious, better than people like you and me, because they don't have businesses, they don't have jobs, they don't have to engage in any worldly affairs. But I would challenge that, because is it wrong? Is it materialistic and bad for us to have a job, to have a wife and kids, to have a business? No. The Creator made our bodies needing food. Okay? We need food. We need water. We need clothing. We need shelter. We need these things to stay alive, including the monks as well. That's why they go begging, right? They all carry this bowl or this sack around them, and they get the freebies from society. Right? We all need food and water and shelter to survive. This manifest fact about the world indicates to me that chasing after resources, while not making it your purpose in life, of course, God is our purpose, but chasing after money, resources, this is an inherent part of human life that we are not to escape from, because God made our bodies in a way where we need these things, including the monks. So the fact that they run away from that, run away from the competition for resources, which we all engage in, is showing me that they're running away from their fundamental nature. There's a deep philosophical problem within this tradition. To have a job or a business and buy goods in a market economy is a natural thing to every human being who needs resources to live. We should not run away. Let me just pull this up. Person at work. Okay, we could say a lot about these modern forms of work, which are somewhat dehumanizing, but these mundane, I like this image. This guy, is he praying or is he stressed? I think he's stressed out, so never mind. But these mundane aspects of life, work, which is annoying. Nobody feels like getting up early in the morning and going to work and giving 8 hours. Nobody feels like tending to their business, making phone calls, making connections. We want to live our life free. But the thing is, these mundane aspects of life, they are a part of life, the chase for resources. It is in those moments when our time is so limited, we sweat, we labor for our money, that we can exercise things like patience, long suffering, charity, remembrance of God. These people here, the monks, where did they go? Yeah, you get the idea. Those monks, they don't have to exercise any of those things. There's no patience. Patience comes from people crossing you, people annoying you. That means relationships, that means marriages, that means family, that means friends. People annoy you, people misunderstand each other. They run away from all of that. Dealing with these mundane things are a part of our life. And it makes our long suffering and our charity worth more. So, because this man right here who is working, he obviously labors for his money in some way, I guess intellectually, and he is in need of resources himself. So when he gives to the beggar on the street, he gives to the person who's injured, whose leg got hurt in an accident, it's worth more, and God counts it as higher. So that's a big issue. They all incline towards this monkism, and monkism is not something I look up to at all. Another thing that's big in these Hindu Dharmic traditions, you find this in the Dhammapada, you find this in the Bhagavad Gita, you find this, I think, most consistently expressed in the Jainist philosophy, is this concept of ahimsa. Ahimsa, or non-violence, pure non-violence. Now, the issue I have with this is, so you see in the Dhammapada, it talks about don't give any harm to living beings, no harm in any way to anything. And this is why in the Far East there's a lot of veganism, a lot of vegetarianism. They go down that road, being consistent with the philosophy of ahimsa. And my issue with that is I can see that harm and violence, provided it's regulated, not senseless, ubiquitous violence, but harm, pain, and suffering are a part of this world. They are an inherent part of human existence. They are a part of reality. Okay? The lion has to harm the antelope to eat it. The antelope has to harm the grass in order to eat it. We have to harm the cow in order to eat it. And you will see these people. Another huge indication that this complete non-harm principle is against reality is we see the failure of veganism. Veganism destroys the body. Uh, Brothers and sisters, we need milk, we need butter, we need flesh. We have to eat these things in order to remain healthy. We have to eat fish and cows and chickens and these kinds of things. Look, I'm sorry for the disturbing image, but let me pull up an image of the Jain monks. These people are vegans, okay? Look at them. They have no clothes on. You see the skinny, fat body, emaciated. Their necks are scrawny. Their muscles are completely atrophied, but they have these huge, bulging grain guts sticking out. This is not how humans are supposed to live. Just the fact that their bodies are deteriorating, and I'm sure because they're not healthy, their thoughts are cloudy and fuzzy. They're not able to concentrate too well. It affects your mind when your health is like this, and this shows that death has to be a part of this world. We need to eat animals so that we don't wither away like this. This is a huge indication that the non-violence principle is completely wrong. And as with all these other aspects of life, it just needs to be regulated. So violence, God has allowed us to be violent towards cows, to slaughter them, to eat them, not in an unnecessarily brutal way. We try to slaughter them in as humane a way as possible, but it is violent. We're allowed to eat them. We need to. But like I said, the lion eats the antelope. It's like with any other aspect in life. Excuse me. Like sex. Sex isn't inherently wrong. It's just it needs to be regulated between a lawful husband and wife, and not just free willy nilly. Food. There's nothing wrong with eating food, but food needs to be regulated. Don't be a glut. Don't eat any unlawful foods. Eat that which is good and clean and pure, and eat in moderation. It's the same thing with violence. Violence has to be done in a regulated way. And to, the most consistent people with this non-violence philosophy, which I can't pull up the quotes right now, but it's in all of them, the Bhagavad Gita, it's in the Dhammapada. The Jains take this to its logical conclusion. For those of you who don't know, Jains, they are non-violence taken to the ultimate dedication. Jains, let me actually pull up Jain monks again. These people, so obviously they're celibate. They don't have any wives, any children. They even wear masks at times. You see this mask thing that they're wearing. They wear it because their hot breath, when they breathe, it may cause harm to a living being. It may cause harm to a mosquito or a bug, which they can't do that. They don't eat any meat. They don't eat any animal products because that causes harm. Some of these people don't even shower, believe it or not. They don't shower because they don't want to cause harm to the living organisms within the within the water or the river that they're showering themselves in. They walk around from town to town. They don't stay in any place for too long because they're all about non-attachment. They don't want to become attached to this place. They walk around with brooms as well. And the reason for the broom is as they're walking by, they don't want to accidentally step on a bug or a critter of some kind. So they'll take the broom and slightly kind of brush them away and continue walking. And this right here, and I would say specifically the non-clothed, the variety of Jainism and non-attachment, this is the ultimate conclusion of the principle of non-violence. They obviously don't defend themselves. They don't even eat root vegetables, okay? So no potatoes, no sweet potatoes, no yucca, no idos, because to eat a root vegetable requires you to kill the plant. You have to uproot it from the ground. And remember, we can't have any violence. We can't cause any harm to living beings. They don't. They can't even eat any raw meat or any meat in general. They can't cook food as well because cooking, a bug might land in the pan or in the fire and get himself burned. So they can't do that. Basically, everybody prepares the food for them, and they just eat like leaves and little fruits here and there. This is where it goes to. So we can all see and intuit that this style of life is completely unnatural. It is against human nature. And this shows that the nonviolence principle is completely false. We can see evidence for this all around us. The next thing I want to speak about is the concept of moksha, liberation, or nirvana. Let me pull it up. Nirvana, Buddhism. Right here. So the Buddha allegedly achieved enlightenment, and so when you talk to Buddhists, Jains, Hindus, Sikhs, and you tell them that we do our good deeds for a reward in life, right? We seek not the rewards of earth, like me making these videos and instructing you, giving you these lectures, which hopefully you find edifying and helpful. I'm not doing this so that you guys can send me praise or thanks or money. There's no avenue that you guys can send me money. I'm simply doing this for the rewards of heaven. And they don't like this idea. They'll tell you that's being selfish. When I do good, man, I only do it I don't do it for seeking any result of good or bad. I just do good for the sake of doing good, and hopefully I can achieve moksha, liberation, nirvana. And this is deep within the Dhammapada, deep within the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads. Doing good and being indifferent to the results, and specifically indifferent to the results either in heaven or on earth. And the fundamental contradiction with this idea is that you guys are seeking a reward. You're going to say, I'm selfish because I want my Lord to reward me in paradise for my good action and behavior. Well, you guys are doing that exact same thing. What is moksha? What is nirvana, liberation? It's a state of pure bliss. That's how the Dhammapada describes it. It's the sweetest honey ever. It's sweeter than the most delicious food. It's pure bliss and happiness. You guys are seeking a reward, right? Wouldn't you? And another big concept within Bhagavad Gita, Dhammapada, Upanishads is this elimination of desire, to eliminate all craving and desire of any kind. And this is why these people go out into the wilderness. They want to eliminate desire for family and everything. And the issue with that is, wouldn't I, and this is things that other people have talked about as well, wouldn't I need to desire to achieve nirvana in order to achieve it? If I'm a Buddhist monk, I want to achieve nirvana and bliss. It comes out of a desire in the first place. So this whole non-desire, non-craving principle, it's self-defeating, because desire is the impetus for any action that a human engages in, including meditation and removing your karma. So don't tell me I'm selfish because I want paradise. Right? Don't tell me I'm selfish because I want this, when you're trying to achieve this as well. You're trying to achieve a state of bliss and happiness just as I am. So you're working for rewards in the same way that I am. So that's another fundamental contradiction. In the Quran, in the Bible, we don't have this concept of non-desire. We have a general disattachment to the material things of the life of this world. We understand that they don't give us our purpose, but there is still a degree of attachment. We want reward for our actions. Another question I have is, let me pull up Jain monk meditating. Okay, right here. The question I have is, through this meditation, are we really ever going to transcend the pettiness of life? This is the peak. This is the greatest practice that a Buddhist, Jain, Sikh can do. Or is this man ever going to transcend all of the pettiness in life? If he's outside and a mosquito comes on his eyelid trying to bite him, should he just let it be? Would it not distract him from his meditation that that mosquito is biting him? If so, what does he do in this point? If he lets the mosquito stay there, he's going to be distracted from his focus. If he swats at or kills a mosquito, which is a very natural response, then he's breaking the non-violence principle. What about if somebody comes and invades his country? God forbid, an invading army comes in and they're trying to murder and do horrible things to his family. They're trying to, I should say, do unconsensual sexual acts with his sister, with his mother, with his wife. He doesn't have a wife, but his sister, his mother, whatever. What does he do with the non-violence principle? If somebody breaks into his house and is trying to hurt his mom or his family, Does he practice non-desire and non-attachment in that moment and just let it be? Does he not care about the outcome of that scenario, or does he desire to save his family? If he desires to save his mom, his dad, his sister, then that is a form of attachment. That's a form of violence that he has to do. What's going on here? Is he not allowed to kill the evildoer? And that's my point. This is largely a virtue signal. We will never transcend the pettiness of life. We will never transcend the violence, the pain, the annoyances, the mundane aspects of work. They will always be a part of our existence. It's just about engaging in those scenarios in the most just manner, remembering our Creator, and regulating the rough edges of mankind. Not eliminating them altogether, but regulating them. The next point, which is kind of related to what I said before, is that the highest standard of a man, the peak male, dare I say the Übermensch, in the Dharmic religions is very different to the Abrahamic religions. So, let's get another photo just to keep things fresh. Not that one. This man. Actually, let's go to. I did Hindu, Buddhist. Let's see Sikh meditating. Let's share the love a little bit. Let's get all the religions in there. Okay. And Sikhs I have a little more respect for, honestly. I have to look a little deeper into them, but I have a little more respect because they do believe in living a householder's life. They believe in defending others. They even carry the Qur'an on them. They're a little more closer to Islam with their ideology. So perhaps this isn't the best example, but let this be kind of a symbol of the man who leaves society and goes out in the wilderness to meditate. Now, this is the highest standard in the Dharmic traditions. The person who, let's be real, he runs away from all responsibility, family, possessions, attachments, just meditating in the wilderness. Whereas the standard in the Abrahamic tradition is totally different. So let's pull up Moses and his family, the most mentioned prophet in the Holy Quran. Okay, let's just use this as an image for Moses. Okay, see, right here. This man has his family, he has his mule, and there's nothing wrong with this in the Abrahamic traditions, in the Quran, and he has a home, community, responsibilities. This is the key difference. The Dharmic religions, they tend to teach running away from responsibility, whereas in the Quranic, biblical tradition, they teach taking on responsibility, but taking it on with faith in God. That's the thing. That is the difference between the ideal man in either of these traditions. And I think we all know deep down who is living a more manly life. I mean, look at people like Solomon. Solomon had a great kingdom. He was responsible for tons of people. He had the greatest, God gave him the greatest kingdom out of anyone who's ever lived. Let me pull up an image of that. Solomon, Suleiman. Okay, he had jurisdiction over a large area. I'm sure by God's leave, he had a big family. He was responsible over a lot, and that's okay. That's actually a good thing. Those responsibilities, taking on challenges in the life of this world, but having faith that God will pull you through and he will provide you for all of your needs. Everybody knows that philosophy is more manly than escapism. That philosophy is more godly than escapism. This person is doing more good with his life than this person. Now, to kind of, I should say, give a little bit of credit to the monks. These are just reflections I have on the Eastern religions. Take them for what you will. I do see a lot of positivity in their messages as well. I read the Dhammapada, and it's a great read. I would recommend anybody read it. There's a lot of wisdom in there. Like, what was a quote that I read yesterday? And it talks about hell. It talks about heaven as well. Then it talks about moksha, liberate, or nirvana, which I disregard. But the one quote in there was. It was something like, your life is withering away like a leaf, and you are at the evening of your death, the evening of your departure, but you have not made any provisions for your journey. So that's such a beautiful quote. You're about to depart into the next life, but you're about to journey, but you have not made any accommodations for your journey. You have not sent anything ahead of yourself. You have not done those good deeds. And I just, overall the remembrance of disattaching to the things of the life of this world, being patient and long suffering in certain things, I find a lot of benefit in that. And the monk message in the modern world is a very powerful message, I would say. In our age of hyper consumerism, let's pull it up here. Shop, shop, shop till you drop. Me, myself, and I. My possessions make me who I am. I'm the coolest because I have the biggest house and I have the fanciest car and I'm doned in all the Gucci and the Prada and the Louis Vuitton and all this stuff. I'm the best. In an age of dissolution that promotes such an ideology, it is quite refreshing and resourceful to hear from people who have completely renounced all of that and talk about the virtues of not having rather than having. Talk about the virtues of being thankful for what you have. Talk about the virtues of cultivating character as opposed to wealth in this world. Although they go too far, I think it is a very welcome message in this modern world, and there's a lot to learn from. I think the world would be a better place if people learn some of the good virtues that the monks have to offer. So I will give that as well. And there is a lot of parallels. We are told in the Quran to generally speak, not fully, but generally be disattached to wealth, to not worry. It's a brilliant thing that one of my brothers in the faith told me in my community. He said that if you notice the Quran, it doesn't talk much about saving and storing wealth. And I believe in saving wealth. Of course, think about yourself, think about your family. But generally, God emphasizes more spending in the cause of God. Give in charity, give to the fatherless, give to your relative, give to the traveler. And God says, don't worry, I will provide for you and your needs. And uh, it's there is that parallel there, and of course we should save, we should take care of our families as well, but generally God does teach us somewhat of a disattachment to wealth. Don't worry and hoard it, give it, and I promise you I will provide you with that which you need. And this has a lot of parallels and things in common with the Dharmic religions that teach non-attachment. We are generally non-attached to wealth, but we understand wealth is not inherently bad and we do need some of it to survive. So it is a refreshing message. I will say that. And there's a lot to learn, and I would recommend you read some of these books. Read the Dhammapada. There's a lot of good in there. Another thing I want to talk about is going into this whole idea of doing good action, not seeking any reward, neither in heaven nor on earth. It goes against a natural principle which I see in the world. So an inherent part of this world is the fact that each action has a consequence. Good actions bring good results, and bad actions bring bad results. We can see this in nature. These are the ayats, or the signs that God has put within the heavens and the earth. If I exercise and eat modestly, I will have a good result. By God's leave, I'll feel good, I'll be strong. And if I eat garbage and live a slothful life, I will have a bad result. The concept of reaping results for your actions is inherently baked into the matrix of this world. So what is wrong in desiring reward for our actions when it's such a natural part of the human condition? Why are we trying to run away from this fundamental law of creation with this idea of total indifferentism? So that's a big issue I have with them. Another issue I have is, let me pull up some of their sacred books. Bhagavad Gita. Oops. Bhagavad Gita. Okay, let's pull up the Dhammapada. Oops. Let's get the Adi Granth, or the Guru Granth Sahib of the Sikhs. Guru Granth Sahib. What was the other one? I can't remember what the Jain scripture is. Jain scripture. Agamas. Okay, right here. So if you look at all these books, this is something I've talked about in previous videos, and let's to contrast that, let's pull up the Bible and Quran. Bible and Quran. Okay, so these, and obviously we know the Quran is more superior. I'm not talking about a comparison between these faiths that claim to represent Abraham. So Um, I'm not doing a comparison between these faiths that claim to follow Abraham. I've done this elsewhere. I have a whole section. My book on Christianity shows why the Quran is the most true representation of these faiths which claim to believe in Abraham. I'm doing a comparison of the Abrahamic faiths versus the Dharmic faiths. So if we can think of the Bible and the Quran as one thing and contrast it to the Guru Granth Sahib, the Mapada, Bhagavad Gita, and the Agamas, if those Eastern books have more eternal truths than the Bible and the Quran, why would the creator of this world allow the Bible and the Quran to spread a lot farther than the Eastern books? The Quran and the Bible exist all over the world. Everybody knows about them. Everybody knows about Christians. Everybody knows about Muslims. Whereas those books in the East, Agamas, Dhammapada, they only exist in the Far East. Why would the Creator allow these alleged false books right here to spread a lot farther than the eternal Dharmic truths that are in the East? Why would that be the case? These Eastern books have been completely outperformed by the Bible and the Quran. They don't have the resume that the Quran and the Bible do. God, the eternal truth about our Lord and about reality, God would not tuck it away in some corner in the remote East. He would make it international. He would make it known everywhere. And I'm not saying that because the majority follows something, it's correct. Please follow my argument here. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that at the very least, if these Eastern books had more eternal truths that resonate with the soul of mankind, they should be more famous and have more reputation than the Abrahamic books. At the very least, their knowledge, the knowledge of their existence, despite if people follow it or not, the knowledge of the existence of these books should be a lot farther and wider spread than what we're seeing here. But, of course, we don't see that. Truth sticks. Truth is international. Truth doesn't know any borders, and truth spreads. Even if people try to hide it, the truth spreads. The truth is known. The truth exists in every nation. We can say that about the Quran and the Bible, but not the sacred books of the East. So, uh, this God here, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has spoken louder than Guru Nanak, than the Buddha, than the Krishna, and has spoken louder as well than the Tirthankara, whatever Tirthankara, the ascended master of Jainism. And quickly, just on a side note, that's one thing you'll notice about these Eastern religions. They're very big on. So you have the Mama tradition up here of Hinduism, and the Vedas, the Upanishads. Let me pull it up. Vedas, gently without screwing with my laptop. So you have the Mama tradition out here, and you have these various other schools that have arisen, the Jain schools, the Buddhist schools, the Sikh schools, and usually they are birthed from somebody, some individual within this Dharmic Vedic school achieving enlightenment and then having a few disciples, and then those disciples teach other disciples, and that kind of develops its own flavor of tradition coming from this. So you'll notice that that's a common theme in the East. Some man achieves enlightenment, liberation, and then people start to worship him and follow him. That's a common. It's very different to the prophetic model in the Quran. And another thing I want to talk about, or I guess the final thing, my issue with these Eastern religions, and these are not just local versions, these are central concepts to the faiths of Dharma. And my issue is with this concept of meditation. Okay. All right. Let's get a good image here. Okay, this person is meditating. Now, I wonder, what is the purpose of meditation? I know the purpose of prayer. It's to implore my Lord and seek his mercy and love. But what is the purpose of this? The way I've done some meditation, actually. I was doing it last night just to get not any spiritual. I want you guys to get me straight. I wasn't doing any yoga or anything like that. I did just a simple breath meditation of the Buddhists, focusing on the breath. No spiritual component to it, just to kind of get into the mindset and see what these people are doing. What are they trying to accomplish with this practice? Because it's very foreign to the Quran. And this is the conclusion that I've come across. So, the way these monks focus on their breath, let me pull it up actually. So, how to meditate Buddhist Buddhist. Let's pull up that Sri Lankan guy again. Seems like a kind enough chap. Where is he? This guy. There's a video. How to meditate in a busy life. What's his name? Buddhism. Okay, yeah, this video right here. So I did this last night.
Welcome and welcome back to another video. Today, I'm in one of our monasteries, where it is situated in the hill country of Sri Lanka. If you're visiting Sri Lanka, and if you're visiting Ella especially, this is a must where most of sati means that you have to come to a seated position and you have to make your back straight and nice and straight. And then you close your eyes and you become aware of your in-breath and out-breath, right? When you inhale, you become mindful about I'm inhaling. And when you exhale, you become
okay, so you inhale and
mindful
you exhale, and he says that you want to focus on the tip of your nose. And
about your exhale. So this is what you call the breathing meditation, basically. So how can we do this? Okay, so this is what we can do. First of all, we have to find the place where we feel our breath. Normally, we feel our breath at our tip of our nose.
Okay, so you want to focus on the tip of your nose.
When we breathe in, we feel that air touching our nose tip, the hood of the nose, and then it goes in. And when
And the whole concept behind this is to clear your mind of any thoughts, to clear your mind of any distractions. Just focus in on the breath and make the breath almost automatic. And when I was doing this last night, I was just thinking to myself, I was doing, and I was just thinking, what am I doing? What am I accomplishing here? And really, what I was doing was I was losing all sense of myself. That's what these Buddhists are doing. They go on a mountain in the middle of nowhere, a place that is completely silent, or they might be in their temple where there's white noise going on. So, they have those singing bowls, gongs, bowls, which serve as a form of white noise. Gong, that's how it sounds like. So it's a form of white noise. So basically, no sound, no stimulation. They close their eyes, so no sight, and you just disappear into your breaths. Really, meditation is consistent with their philosophy of liberation from the cycle of death and rebirth, dissolving into the universe in the way that I showed you Master Oogway did in Kung Fu Panda. It's about non-existing. I felt in that moment of meditation that I was non-existent. And the thing is, it's about being as still as possible, escaping from this world and all of its sensory stimulus. And the question I have to ask to the meditators is it not self-delusion? Let's be honest with ourselves. That's the purpose. I don't care what anybody says. That's what it is. It's like non-existing and trying to escape this world. That's what I felt like when I was meditating. And is it not self-delusion? Because are you still not in this world? Is it not kind of just a LARP? If I'm sitting there and meditating for hours and hours, will not eventually my stomach growl? Will not my butt get itchy and I need to kind of adjust myself because my butt is uncomfortable? Will not my tongue get thirsty, forcing me to drink? Will not a mosquito come on my eyelid while I meditate? Why am I indulging in this fantasy of trying to escape from the world? Why am I trying to seek to just not exist in the physical world for a moment? Which is what meditation is. You're trying to not exist. You're trying to remove all stimulation in any way. When you know for a fact you do indeed exist here. Doesn't matter how many times, how calmly this man breathes inside and out and focuses on the tip of his nose. He exists in this world. I get it that it can be calming, and there are certain lessons to learn from meditation regarding mindfulness and avoiding overstimulation. I felt very calm when I was meditating. I can see why they do this, but let's be real. You're not going to escape the life of this world. You're stuck here, man, and you need to participate in a righteous way in this world. And That's really, and this goes deep into the Dharmic religions, meditation, yoga, uh, like harnessing the prana energy. This is in all of them. So that's kind of my criticism of the fundamental practice of meditation. I believe in prayer, not trying to escape from the world by removing all sensory stimulus. So that's really my criticism of these Dharmic religions. I hope you found it beneficial. Maybe you guys can write these things down, have them in your pocket whenever you discuss with these people. It's not a majority faith in the world. The majority faith is Abrahamic, or at least claims to be Abrahamic, but it is a sizable portion in the world, specifically Sri Lanka, into India, into Southeast Asia, all the way into the Far East. We do see this Dharmic tradition, and these are some potent criticisms you can pose against them and offer people an opportunity to read the Quran, which contains the perfect, unaltered, and unedited truth from our Lord. But, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's really all I got to say on the matter. I hope this talk was a blessing. And yeah, peace to you. Remember, deceit abounds, so keep your eyes wide open. Peace out.